Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 18 of This Korean Life. Don't make a shit part joke. Don't make a shit part joke. Today's episode is brought to you by Genius English Camp. By taking English beyond the classroom, Genius English Camp strives to provide excellent teaching with excellent opportunity. As a brand, their aim is to connect, inspire, and develop, to connect the individual to the world at large, to inspire them to greatness, and to develop their English and interpersonal skills and give them the necessary tools for success. Lyle, who's actually our guest today on the podcast, showed me some of his pictures from his previous trip. Helicopters, museums, hikes, picnics, markets, sunsets on the beach. In this year's special event for their South African trip is sleeping in Nelson Mandela's home and having the opportunity to meet some close friends and share some stories together. What are you waiting for? Mention This Korean Life podcast for a special discount. Connect, inspire, develop with Genius English Camp. To speak to someone in English, call Lyle at 010-8539-9761. To speak to someone in Korean, call Suhyun at 010-8399-9761. This episode is also brought to you by ESL Hacker. Are you tired of teaching the same old garbage, boring books over and over and over again? When the new semester starts, you look at that book and you think, oh, what am I doing with my life? Guys, take a minute, visit eslhacker.com. Check out some of the contents that they provide. They got pop songs. They have a cool true story section and also a free monthly newspaper. Some of the things are paid. The monthly newspaper is free. Stop winging your classes. Get some good material. Go in. Enjoy yourself. Students will love it. Moms will love it. Your director will love it. Anyways, you can follow them on Instagram and Facebook at ESL Hacker or the main website at eslhacker.com. Now, today's guest, the one and only Lyle Baatjes, the founder and president of Genius English Camp. We sat down today for an interesting chat about his entrepreneurial endeavors. Say that 5 times fast. And some of the challenges and successes he has faced so far. You'll hear about his South African roots, his unique story of the first time he visited Korea, long before he ever decided to come back. And he also touches on married life in Korea, his incredible work ethic, and tells a story of a chance meeting with Trevor Noah in New York. Great story, great man. I hope you all enjoy. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of This Korean Life. Today we are sitting here with Lyle Baatjes. Lyle, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I think we've tried to set this up before. We've met several times off mic, discussing your entrepreneurial, hustling lifestyle. Anyways, just the first thing I want to touch on your Facebook, it's a lot of positivity and there's a lot of hard work going on. You're not afraid of hard work. You're a very positive guy. Tell me about your current work. I mean, on your Facebook page, I see you're always on airplanes. You're flying here and there. Give us a little introduction to Lyle Baatjes.
Well, the first thing I'll say is I'm relentless. When it comes to work and work ethic, and it's all about getting better or striving for excellence. So I'd say that's what inspires me.
What's the goal? What's pushing you?
Is
it? I mean, well, when I came here, it was 100% absolutely come and crush and make as much money as you can. That was the early motivations for me. Now it's changed slightly. You get a little comfortable and you go, and your priorities change. But what's burning the fire under your ondongi there?
Man, I'd say definitely knowing what it's like to be poor. Right, like growing up poor in South Africa. At the time we didn't know we were poor, right, because everyone else in our community was poor. Right? So when you get out of that community and you see what other people have, and that's definitely definitely what drives me. And when I say growing up poor, I don't mean we lacked everything.
I was just going to say, can you give us some perspective on what poor is?
Well, I'll give you a very good example. So buying trousers, right? So when we grew up, we never bought trousers that matched our height.
Oh, okay.
So my mom always bought trousers like 3-4 sizes too big.
Okay.
And then they'd roll up the legs. And then the more you grew, the more they would roll it down.
You never got the hand-me-downs from your 20 cousins?
I
I used to get my cousin who was 15 years older than me. They'd come down through the chain of cousins, and I would get them 10 years later.
Yeah, no, in my family, like, there aren't many boys, right? So we've got like 20 girl cousins and then 3 boy cousins.
Yeah.
So
You'd look good in a skirt.
Oh,
look at these legs, eh?
it's funny now that you say growing up poor. I think that's, I mean, getting your pants and rolling them and unrolling, that's kind of a good conscious decision to not waste so many goddamn clothes. I had never, ever in my life thought about shopping, seasonally shopping. I have some of my older students, the older lady students. Yeah. Hey, how was your weekend? Oh, I did my spring shopping. Like, what is spring shopping?
That's been going on for years. Years.
I was never.
That's the garment industry that we have now. That is one of the biggest problems going.
I was never aware of that. And she's like, oh, I did my winter shopping. Like, my winter is just like my T-shirt with a long sleeve shirt underneath it. Right, yeah. You know, it was shocking to hear that.
So you grew up in South Africa as well?
No. No. I grew up, I'd say until about high school. Lived a very comfortable life. Yeah. Then parents split and things got a little tighter. So I had a taste of that too, man. It was rough. Got through it and
I'm going to be 40 next year, but I don't think it's that old. But it is 40 years ago, and I think it was a lot different. I mean, these days, I think there's so many people living in debt just to have the necessary things that. Yeah. When I grew up, if you didn't have the money, you probably didn't have it, and we didn't have all these electronic gadgets and. It just didn't change so fast. It didn't evolve so quickly. And the must-haves were, like they say, a clicky pen was the thing to have, but it wasn't an iPhone or something. So,
but it might be too that you were probably comparing with, or your parents were probably comparing with their circle of friends. Now, what the input you're getting is from the whole world, right? So you're always one step below.
It seems like. I mean, however many years ago, it was a lot more modest than it is now. And it was the old, you make money and you save it and you spend what you have. You don't have 20 credit cards and line of credits and stuff that are all maxed out. But it's evident at home, just in the houses and everything, that, there's no more, 800 square foot starter houses. They're all mansions for me. I mean, I live in a small apartment here. So I'm mind boggled when I go home and see just the hugeness of everything and how much people have. It's just blows my mind.
That'll swing back too, right? Everyone, I think people are very.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
I'm not so sure about that, man.
I don't know.
Wait till
the houses aren't going to get smaller.
Maybe people will stop. Well, I see the tiny house movement. That's a little bit extreme, but my house isn't huge by any means. That's the end of it. I can see from one side to the other. It's.
Where do you think that culture is worse, though? Do you think it's worse in Korea or back home?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd say the consumer culture.
Yeah.
Here. Well, maybe it's because we live in Ulsan, but this is quite a rich, well-off city. Yeah. And I notice it here more. Maybe because I don't know. I teach in the department store.
What do you think?
Yeah, definitely back in Korea. Definitely experience it a lot more here than in South Africa. Just the latte department, family department culture.
But that's
having
not
to dress
everybody.
up to go to the department store.
To the department store, they dress up to go to the corner store. But I feel at home, one thing is having all the space and having the big houses. like my brothers and sisters have Christmas decorations, Easter decorations, Thanksgiving, and they got closets to put all this stuff in. Yeah. We don't have the space here, so we just don't have all that stuff. Yeah. We just have what's necessary, which is
a tree and
the minimal amount of stuff. And now you see these shows on TV that buried alive in your home or whatever. I don't watch them. I've seen clips and pieces and I go, oh my God, the hoarders. But it's true. The bigger house you have, the more shit you have. And that's why I like living in an apartment here, which, you know, growing up at home, you love your yard, you love to play outside. I never want to live in an apartment. How can you live in an apartment with no yard? But we have the park behind our house. But what I've realized now is we don't collect all this shit. And it's not necessarily junk, but man, do I really need...
You realize you can live without that, right?
Do I really need Thanksgiving decorations and Easter decorations? And like he said, the seasonal clothing, but there's seasonal interior decorating also that my mom will put up her winter decorations. And then in the spring, you know, it might be some warmer colors. And in the summer, it's going to be some yellows and oranges and reds. But you know how many home decorating stores there are at home? Nah. It's crazy. And they sell you this, you know, you got to re-update your house. You're having people over. In Korea, we don't have that many people over. And I think I live a much more minimal lifestyle here than I would at home. So
less from cleaning too. Yeah.
Apart from fancy clothes, handbags, and just a few superficial items, otherwise I think they live pretty basically. And I mean, there is no interior decorating in their homes.
Yeah.
They're all the same. They're all basic. They're nice, but you know they don't have a lot of the consumerism that we have because they don't have the space. We have 7 people. We had 5 cars, 6 cars. You never see that here. There's nowhere to park 1 car. So I think I see it way more at home. You said relentless at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
I notice on your page there that it's always going on 3 hours sleep, going on 4 hours sleep, or non-stop and flexing the pipes and everything. But I was like that from a very, very young age. And our parents instilled in us that we should work for everything we have. And we all had part-time jobs from very young ages and full-time jobs in the summers from very young ages. And we worked and partied and studied, and that's all we did. But I remember high school and university years, I mean, in the summers, you would party till 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
You remember them?
I'm not saying it was healthy, but we would come home at 3, 4 in the morning, and we would drive to the golf course at 6 o'clock to cut greens.
Yeah.
And, you know, we thought we were indestructible, and we were doing what's right because we were enjoying our life, we were working hard, we were studying hard, and that was our balance, but we didn't sleep at all. And I used to be the guy who said, Mom, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah.
I don't need to sleep now, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I don't know how old you are, but I think you're a little younger than me. But I've come to...
Well, getting up there.
I've come to realize that, and only when I watched that podcast, Rogan's with the sleep specialist, did I start to realize really how important it was. And I started committing to 7 hours of sleep a night. Wow, I feel great. But then I think, imagine how many years I lost of getting 4 and 5 hours. And when we had the kids, I was up at midnight all the time and middle of the night for crying babies. But I wonder for you, do you recognize, where do you value sleep in terms of relentless work, getting her done, hobby hustles?
For me, it's all about opportunity, right? So right now I've got an opportunity to make money, an opportunity that might not be there a year later. So I don't mind sacrificing right now to reap the rewards hopefully later.
Yeah, that was always my thing too, with getting different jobs here and there.
Yeah.
When I came 2007, the mindset was, and everyone said, like, we got 5 years max until this gravy train runs dry. And I went, only 5 years? Oh, you know, and just getting crushed. It's still, luckily, it's still going. But
do you think that we'll still have this opportunity 5-10 years from now?
Sure, absolutely.
With advances in technology?
Absolutely.
Oh, I don't think people will.
It's not related only to technology. I mean, I teach women who are looking to keep their brains active, to get out of the house, to meet new people.
Yeah.
It's not just the pursuit of English for studies or grades or marks or whatever. Like there's elderly classes now to keep them from dementia and stuff. And there's
the culture here is to be involved, to be engaged with every aspect of your life, right? If they're going to the company, they're having dinner with their company guys on the weekends or weeknights, whatever. They always want to be engaged, which is, I think, why they're healthy for so long. These creators,
the company work, the exchange students, all of that. Sure, that's life, man. That's not going anywhere. The purpose of why they study English might change as the test becomes less important, but I think it's going to be there for a long time, sure.
But I mean, the need for an actual teacher in a classroom. Right now, you can go on YouTube, have lessons on YouTube, not pay a cent, or you can have the online classes, which is a lot cheaper.
Yeah, but I think I've thought about that too, but I think people want the interaction. They want to be in the classroom. They want,
I think you can do everything on your phone. Is that the society we want to live in? I mean, right? Eventually, you're going to be able to do. Right? We can already do so much, but like you said, eventually it's going to come back to, hey, I want to talk to someone. I want to see someone. I want to feel their, and you can only do so much of that online. I think that's the VIP kids and stuff for China, which is huge now. Or I think that's kind of the second best option. If you can't afford the person in your house, if you don't have access to the people, then maybe that's the best thing you can do. For me, if I want to learn Spanish and there's no Spanish teachers here, well, sure, I'm going to go online because that's the next best option. Yeah. But I think lots of us have seen Duolingo and the likes and those programs online. You can only learn so much, and then eventually you have to do it. And I think the Koreans are evidence of that. You can only study your book and with the Korean teacher so much, and eventually you have to actually do it. And without that, you're limited in your capacity.
A few weeks ago, we were at Sticky Fingers. What was the band? Walking After You. Yeah. Listen, these were four girls that absolutely blew my mind. He told me like, hey, watch, these girls are gonna be good. Yeah. They played an unreal set, and I recorded about a 30-second clip of it. Mm-hmm. And I was telling my class the next week, wow, you should have seen these girls. It was amazing. Check out this video. And when I'm watching it, I went, that the feeling wasn't there. Being there live and feeling that energy went like, it was completely different.
The value of the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I like that. And, I think being in a classroom and even just talking to someone online or if it's phone teaching, whatever, it lacks that. There's something about being present in the class and interacting face to face that you can't get online.
But my question is, why do Korean kids study English? The majority of Korean kids study English to eventually pass the test.
Yeah.
Right?
This is the only reason.
Yeah, they don't study it to use it in a practical way.
Which is what I think is different with Japan. In Japan, you have basic, maybe elementary school English like they have here in school, but they don't all go to academies. The guys who want to work with UN, who want to be multinational businessmen, they do the Hagwon Academy stuff. Yeah. Much like Canada, if you want to be that and you need 3 or 4 languages, you go and do it, but the whole country doesn't do it. Where that's the biggest difference for me in Korea is that I mean, almost every kid in the country studies English, and 99% of them won't use it in their professional life or their career, even though they have to pass the test. So
instead of the materialism, instead of having the bigger house, it's sending your kid. Oh, my kid goes to math. I'll go. Oh, mine's got to go too. Right? Yeah. It's keeping up with the Kimses.
Not too long ago, we had Conette on here. She's also from South Africa, and she said she was mentioning some of the reasons she came and stuff. And I was wondering, you said growing up poor. I was wondering what your inspiration was to come, or why you decided to come, and what was it like at home, and what is the difference now that you're here? Because she talked a lot about that she's not interested in really going back quickly because of the conditions, and she really enjoys it here, and she kind of came over here by luck. But now that she's here, she really enjoys it, and she'll see where life takes her. But how about for you? What drove you to come over?
Oh, my first experience in Korea was actually way back in 2005. I had an uncle who was working and teaching English out here, so we came over. One summer we came for about 2 weeks.
No way.
I think that was with the... Oh, man. Yeah, there was some outbreak, and flights were like really cheap.
MERS.
I'm not sure if it was MERS. But there was some outbreak like way back then. And Singapore Airlines had like $500 flights, return flights to Korea, and everyone was like scared to fly, right? I think it was with the anthrax. There was some anthrax way back then. So we took the opportunity, we came over, and it was a strange place back then, right?
How old were you around then?
I was 15.
Nate's digging for your age.
Next question too. I came over in my early 20s, but I was old enough to filter a little bit of whatever. I traveled a bit, so if it's your first time out of country or out of Africa or South Africa, and you're initiated with Korea, holy man, that's a culture shock.
It was different, man. Like
baptism of fire.
I remember tasting kimchi for the first time, and I'm like, why will you eat something that's fermented? Like fresh cabbage. And then Korea has a strange way of growing on you, man. I remember after that experience, planning to get my degree and then come over for a year. And then you go back home and you realize how much you've changed while you're in Korea.
Yeah.
Was that your first time out of southern, or I mean, I'm assuming you might have traveled to other countries around South Africa. So was that
First
your
time out of Africa.
Out of Africa. Okay.
Yeah, and it was a good experience, man. I remember in South Africa, or at least the community I grew up in, like at 5 p.m. everything closes. Like, the restaurants, like everything, because we grew up in a city called in Cape Town, right?
Yeah.
In one of the suburbs called Kuils River, and like there's a saying like Kuils River closes at 5 p.m. Like there's nothing that you can do after 5, right? And I remember in Korea, like we were still suffering heavily from jet lag the first week, and at like 4 a.m. my buddy was like, "Hey, so do you want to go outside and get a snack?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it's 4 a.m." And he's like, "Oh no, we'll go to the convenience store." And we go outside and like everything is on, everything is open. It was amazing. An amazing experience.
It's cool, eh?
My Ghanaian students at UNIS there, when they come over, and most of them have never left Ghana, and they say they arrive in Seoul, they just go, "Wow!" I just can't imagine the shock and the awe that they must feel. And I lived in Ghana and been all over the West there, and I just can't imagine how shocking it must be. And at 15, I mean, you must, obviously it was life-changing and inspiring because you're back here and doing it now.
Yes, sir. So that was my first introduction to Korea, and then went back home, studied for a bit. I lived in the UK for a while, and then went back to South Africa, got my degree, and decided to come over for a year. And as I said, Korea has a way of growing on you, right?
Absolutely.
What did you study?
I did psychology.
Oh, me too.
Well, I didn't really study. We had this kid in our class, Ilan, and she was the brains of the class, man. And she had a thing for chocolate muffins. Yeah. So I realized if I buy enough chocolate muffins, I can get Ilan to do my assignments for me.
No doubt. Yeah, there were some girls that helped me as well through uni. I started uni at 18, and I was far too young and mentally immature to be studying at uni. It wasn't that the topics were too hard to grasp, but just immature, man. Like studying wasn't my first priority at all. If I could do it again, I'd like to put more effort into it. I think there's so much you can grab from the culture of the campus, or just generally putting in the work, and when you get your degree, you're like, I earned this. I don't feel like I really earned this.
Was psychology your choice?
I applied for psych or sociology. I applied for those two, and I got psych. So it wasn't. I didn't.
Sounds like it wasn't.
Oh no, it definitely wasn't. I had these dreams of being a professional footballer, and then when that didn't happen, I went to university with my results, and I was like, so what can I study?
Psychology.
And the guy was like, oh, you can do psych. I was like, okay, cool. I guess I'm doing psych.
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad. A terrible thing to study, but for job prospects, you can be in Canada a cop, elementary school teacher, or you can come to Korea.
Okay.
So that's those are your
how about you?
Career goals.
What did you study?
I was going into kinesiology, and then once I realized how hard it was, I deferred down to phys ed, and then I was in education. The plan was to go to teachers college, so I majored in phys ed and geography, and then I just finished my master's 2 years ago now here. So, no, I've always loved kids. I always wanted to be a teacher, and that's what I went into, and I had some really, really amazing teachers growing up, and my high school phys ed teachers were incredible, and that's what I wanted to be like. Unfortunately, you can't teach how they used to teach anymore. Yeah, it's just the environment has changed, and a lot of the stuff probably that they did, especially coaching, not just the teaching part, but coaching the teams, was if you were the phys ed teacher, you coached a lot of teams. Lots of that stuff would probably be considered not appropriate anymore. Which is a shame, because I think that's part of the way that a lot of guys my age at that time were formed by these influential guys, and demanding dedication and hard work and this kind of stuff in our sports teams. But you just can't do that these days. It's not the same.
Getting soft, this new generation.
I was going to add, you mentioned the soccer career there. When did that come to an end?
That,
how far did you get? Or
not very far. Yeah. That was a combination of injuries and I think generally not being good enough, right? Not very far, man.
Not everyone can do it, man.
So you finished uni, and then how did you decide to come back to here? You just reflected on that 2 weeks with your uncle and thought this was the place, or?
Well, so after uni, I had obviously the student debt, and then I did a bit of research on ways to make money quickly, and Korea seemed like the best option, man.
Sell drugs, go to Korea. Sell drugs, go to Korea.
What is it like in South Africa for university debt? How much? What's tuition like? Are most kids in debt? Do you take student loans? How does it work?
So it's not as bad as in the States, right?
$40K a year.
It's crazy, man.
Why would you go to school? I don't understand. You could just get a part-time job and just cruise, or
yeah.
It is.
So I did a bit of research into ways to make money. In South Africa, the prospects aren't good, man. Like you can have a university degree and you can easily earn $500-600 a month with a university degree.
That's what Kenneth said. It was kind of useless.
Yeah.
It didn't mean anything. How much does university cost in the first place? How much are people trying to pay? Like you say, in the States, you got to work years and years and years to pay off.
It's like a house.
That.
It's like buying a house. Yeah.
In South Africa, it's a bit cheaper. So you're looking at about $4,000-5,000 a year.
Oh, that's what I paid. That's what I paid.
But making $500 a month with a degree is not a lot. So once you decided that Korea was the place for the big money, when did you end up coming back here?
So that was 2011. 2011, yeah. Initially, I wanted to get a job in Seoul. I think that's everyone's first choice. And they placed me.
No.
Oh, really?
I hate the big cities.
Well,
I'm not a fan of Toronto, Vancouver, New York. And just a couple days in, check it out and get out. It's an assault on the senses, man. It makes me crazy. I feel like seizures or something in those places. Like you said, they're 24 hours of just go. I mean, Tokyo and Seoul and all of these places. Oh my God,
that's gotta have an effect on you after.
Sure.
If you don't grow up, you grew up in pretty rural.
The sticks, man. Yeah. So Ulsan is like New York to me. I mean, I grew up in a tiny little place in the middle of nowhere. So Ulsan is like my New York. I can't handle those big places. A few days in, check out, do everything you're supposed to do, and then get out.
So the recruiter was like, well, I don't have any jobs available in Seoul, but we do have this amazing seaside village. It's called Yangnam. And I was like, okay, cool. Can you tell me more about it? And he's like, yeah, occasionally you can see dolphins swimming by. I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I can do a bit of surfing over there. Man, I come back and it's in the middle of nowhere, dude. It's literally between Ulsan and Gyeongju, right?
Yeah. Yangsan?
Yangnam.
Oh, Yangsan's between here and Busan. Okay.
Yeah. So I think I landed at like 8 p.m. and we eventually get out that way around midnight. And I'm like, yeah, but where are the lights? And he's like, don't worry, tomorrow it will be fine. Yeah, but
when the sun comes up.
Yeah, but where are the LED lights? I didn't see this when I came over in 2015, right? And the next day, man, it was a shithole.
Yeah,
right?
Tractors and...
Man, and I ended up being the only foreigner in that village, right? Geez. Which was, it was so different to what I had imagined and to my first experience in Korea. And that ended up being such a blessing, such a good thing. But I mean, in the moment, it was really strange. Like, I'll share one experience. The very first time I had my hair cut, so I'm sitting in the chair and they're busy cutting my hair. And this grandmother comes in and... yeah, she has no filter. She walks right up to me and she starts touching my skin. And she was like, at that time she was like, Obama. Obama. And she literally picks up my hair that had fallen down, like my shaven hair. And she's like, Obama. She puts it back down and she takes a seat. And I was like, oh my goodness, where am I?
but there's also something cool about that, right? Like, I remember walking through the streets in my village in Ghana where I was living. And they're yelling, white man, how are you? So much passion. All the kids, every morning on the street, they'd be out cheering for me. And it's kind of funny, it's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool. Yeah. And same thing coming to Korea, like they rub your arm hair and your beard, like the kids, because they haven't seen it lots. So when I came, it was the same. They rubbed my beard and all the kids would see you have some arm hair and they start rubbing your arms because their dads obviously don't have it. But
Oh, that's cool.
And when the Steelers won the Super Bowl, must have been around 2007 or 8 or something maybe. 2008 was when they brought in all the Epic teachers, the first group, and there was like 250 teachers, and that was the first time that there were any significant amount of black-skinned people in Ulsan. Before that, there was one engineer called Edmund, and he worked with Total, and that was it. I don't think I'd ever seen in the 5-6 years prior to that a black person in Ulsan.
There's a couple.
And they in that intake there was probably 30 or 40 African Americans, African Canadians.
Yeah.
And that just changed everything. Boom. Now it was totally cool. Everything was fine.
Yeah.
But all my buddies who were African American or Canadian, they were Heinz Ward, because Heinz Ward is half Korean and he won the MVP, so he became really famous here. And Michael Jordan and the kids would go around calling him. Nobody would call him Jordan, Heinz Ward. all those guys all had names of famous black actors, athletes, whatever. So it was, I don't know if they ever felt like that at home, where everyone's coming. We had kids asking for autographs. We would introduce them as Heinz Ward, and they would ask for autographs and pictures, and because they just could never get away from it. So we just said, okay, we'll embrace it, and we'll just, when people ask, like, yeah, this is his brother, this is his cousin.
To me, there's 3 common ones. Obviously, Barack Obama, Tiger Woods, and then Henry. Whenever I play soccer, like Henry.
Oh, Henry, yeah. Nice. Oh, it's better than mine.
Yeah.
I get Yul Brynner. Do you know who that is?
No.
Oh my god, dude, he's an actor for like the 50s or 60s maybe. Just he's bald. He's shaven.
Okay.
He's shaven bald, and that's the.
But it's a Korean thing, right?
I guess so, yeah.
To call you, you look like. Nobody at home ever tells people. I don't hear people say that at home, but here everybody says, hey, this is my buddy Brian. Oh, you look like. This is my buddy Lyle. Oh, you look. Everybody says it.
I do get George Clooney sometimes, but
they try to connect.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
That was before. That was before Thai boxing. Now I just get Matt Damon.
So how did you get out of the sleepy seaside village?
So soccer brought me to Ulsan, right? Because I heard there was a soccer team out this way, so I ended up traveling almost every weekend, coming out this way. And then when I decided to move, Ulsan seemed like the best option.
Yeah. It is the hidden gem.
It is definitely. Yeah. So I traveled to Seoul a few times, and visiting there and living there is 2 different things.
Yes,
right?
it is. Visiting is awesome. I love visiting there.
Yeah.
We just came back from U2 on the weekend. We had a great time. I love going there to hang out, party, do stuff, but living there would be totally different, and I wouldn't have a cent in the bank.
So Ulsan seemed like a good balance, right? So you still have a bit of the city life, but also it's a quiet. It's got nature quite close by.
The beach, Busan. You can get your big city life if you want. Just half an hour to Busan or 40 minutes.
It's 40 minutes from here to Busan. You jump on that highway.
Yeah. You've got the Yangnam Alps.
Yeah. But not even that. We were talking in Seoul. Man, Ulsan Grand Park and the Taewa National Garden. Those are probably 2 of the nicest parks in all of Asia. They're fabulous and they're huge. We're so lucky to have the green space here. You mentioned that maybe it was a blessing being in the sleepy village at first. Is that because when you go to Seoul and you live in Seoul, you're probably not going out? Most people in Seoul do not make it down this way, but everybody out here makes it to Seoul a couple times. And if you didn't have that experience first, maybe you wouldn't have experienced as much Korea as you had the opportunity to.
No, I think it's being positive, just having a positive mind going in there. No, if you're a negative Nancy and go in like, I'm in a sleepy village, this sucks, I hate this. I think you took the what you could from there, right?
I think it gave me the authentic Korean experience.
Right.
I really got to understand and appreciate the cultural side of things, right?
No, that's what I mean. We were in Sam Ryan's in Seoul and saying, guys, because Robbie had lived here, Jeju-do, and in Samcheok.
Yeah.
So he was in the same situation, way up in Gangwon-do in the middle of nowhere. Then he moved to here, then he moved to Jeju-do, now he's in Seoul. And he said, I'm glad I've done all of them because I have a real understanding or appreciation of Korea,
Yeah.
where the guys he meets in Seoul and they hang out at these very mixed pubs and all in Itaewon, where it's half Korean and half everybody else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Those people don't have nearly the understanding he does of living in a sleepy oceanside town and then to a metropolis like here and then Jeju-do on the island. It's all very, very different. But yeah, I think if I wasn't here and I was only in Busan, I mean, even the Busan people, they don't tend to get out as much as say people from here do.
Yeah, and then also in terms of the work experience, so me being the only foreigner over there,
Sure.
one mom asked me about class for her son, and then other moms heard about it, and so me being the only option, I got
Obama's
to pick up,
teaching my kid.
got to pick up loads of classes out that way. Yeah, so I think in terms of that, it's been a real blessing, and I mean I still travel out that way 3-4 times a week for classes. Yeah, so it's been a good experience.
No doubt, yeah. I dream sometimes about going out to the country, or just having that slower life. Not like we're at any pace of Seoul, but I do romanticize about that sometimes.
So now looking back, is there a vision to get back to South Africa, or now you're married here and a little bit rooted maybe? Is the plan to stay here and hustle, or?
Well, Suyan has veto power over that. So the choice is it's very interesting. Like I remember when Suyan first went to South Africa, right? So we had been dating for a few months, and
you brought her home after a few months.
Yeah, I wanted her to experience what South Africa was like, because
that's a hard sell for a young Korean lass.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, that's awesome.
So we went over, and she didn't tell me, but she was doing research about South Africa, like quietly. And the number one thing was
soil samples. What did she?
You mean before going, she was researching what it was going to be like, or you mean she was doing university?
Reading blogs and stuff.
Okay.
I thought she was going there and secretly scooping up dirt. And
No. And her number one concern was pickpocketers, because she read on some blog that you have to keep your belongings like close to you.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the reality. I mean, it happens in certain areas, but not everywhere, right? So I was really excited for her to go, and she was really scared about going to South Africa. And we land in Cape Town, and I'm looking for my family. I'm on the phone, walking a few steps ahead of her. My uncle, who's a pastor, sees us, so he'd been at the airport to come and meet us, but I didn't see him, right?
Yeah.
So he comes up next to her and he greets her and wants to take her bag, wants to help her with the bag. And she's like, no. And she gives him this look, and then I turn around, I realize it's him and
Uncle Mike.
Yeah, and eventually, long story short, he ends up marrying us a few years later.
Oh, nice.
The pastor who marries us. And she was like, just after that experience, man, researching South Africa and being so fearful of the place. We were literally there for 4 days. When it was time to leave, I'm always late.
Yeah.
So we're late for our flight, and I'm rushing, and I'm wondering where Suyan is, and I turn around and she's crying, and she's like, I don't think I'm ready to go back to Korea. Yeah, and since then she's been back home 6 times, back to South Africa.
Wow.
6
No
times.
way.
Yeah.
Great.
She loves South Africa, man. Like if it was up to her, we'd move there tomorrow.
Really?
No way.
So she's really
Keen.
yeah, very, very keen to move over, always looking at property and so forth. Whereas I'm not so keen. Like I think I've settled in Korea. And yeah, after visiting New Zealand a few weeks ago, I think I'm more keen to visit to move over to New Zealand. It seems like the better option.
Yeah.
Should we leave Korea? Yeah.
Wasn't there just a volcano that exploded in New Zealand?
Yeah, that's right.
That funny enough, the guy the other day came up. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I heard about the volcano that exploded in Canada." I went, "There's no volcanoes. There's no active volcanoes, I think." And I came home and Googled it. It's like 10,000 years ago. There was a volcano that exploded, but they, that was a big one. I think 8 or 10 dead, anyways.
Okay.
A good third country to move to.
Yes, sir.
So you're probably staying around here. She's interested in going back. Mm-hmm. This probably brings about the camps and stuff. Keeps you connected there. Keeps you going back.
Well, the main reason why we started the camps was I needed a way to escape Korean winter. Right?
He showed, listen, what's the temperature today? What is it, 10? 10, 11? He showed up and goes, oh, it's freezing. Oh, it's freezing today. Go on, dude. Yeah, what's the coldest it gets back in your hometown?
Back home, 5 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
Extreme weather is like 0 degrees Celsius.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That's extreme.
Not that much worse than here. Better than here.
Yeah.
It doesn't get that cold.
To escape the winters, you have your homestay. Your homestay Genius English Camp.
Camps, yeah.
Google that.
Please don't be mistaken. That does not mean I am a genius. Not by any stretch. I think my high school scores would prove contrary. No, but the reason why we chose the name Genius English Camp, Thomas Edison once said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Right? So it's all about the hustle, all about the grind.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why we came up with the name Genius English Camp.
Nice.
We initially started the camps to showcase South Africa. I had learned about people who run camps in other countries, and I was like, yeah, we could do it better. South Africa has a lot to offer. You know, with all of its problems, it's still, I'm a bit biased over here, but it's still the most beautiful country anywhere.
Until you go to Canada.
Until you go to Canada.
On a side note there, I don't know if you shared it. South Africa has won the sevens. Like, what did they win in 2009? They won every important. Did you share? Did I see you share that one?
No, I didn't.
It was like
you need to
government,
introduce me correctly, right?
government, get your stuff in order. This year, the boys took this home. They took that home. Well, there was like 8 significant wins in.
Yeah, we just a few weeks back we won the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah,
so that was huge. Last week it was Miss Universe.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah. South Africa, man.
Wow.
Miss South Africa. We're now winning season, man. And they're doing amazing stuff back home. Just the government needs to sort things out. Right?
Absolutely.
Need to get things in order.
We talked the first time or second time we met there that it might, or how hard of a sell is it for Korean parents? I'm sure the majority of people's first impressions are, ooh, scary, dangerous. Is it dangerous and scary? I mean, obviously, I understand in some areas, yes, no, but overall, in general, or maybe compared to Korea, I think Korea is a heck of a lot safer than Canada. So maybe in that one, and then convincing the parents or selling this experience. What is it like?
It's hard, right? Especially selling it to Koreans, because in Korea you live in a bubble, right? You can lose your wallet and then you'll have it delivered to your door with all of your cards and your notes in there.
An extra $5 for the taxi.
Yeah. In South Africa, I always tell parents, South Africa is like any other country. In New York, for example, there are certain places that are okay. There are other neighborhoods that you stay away from. In South Africa, it's the exact same. And usually the reality is not necessarily what you hear, right? So that's not the experience of locals. And I always use the analogy, I always tell parents, it's the reverse in South Africa. So in Korea, all you hear is the bad things that are happening in South Africa. In South Africa, all they hear is North Korea, nuclear missiles. And I mean, that's not the reality of life back here.
Yeah.
So there are definitely a few areas that are dangerous that you should avoid at all costs. But remember, Cape Town is the #1 tourist destination in the world.
No way. When you're selling the camp to parents, initially you said it was difficult to get them. Now you've expanded the camps, New York and New Zealand. How did you come about picking those destinations?
It's all about the value of the experience. Sorry. So we spoke about this earlier when we spoke about English teachers and having the actual experience with a teacher. Learning about certain places and actually being there are two different things, right? New York is one of my favorite cities, just because when you're in New York, it really inspires you, man. Like, you literally feel like you can do anything, or you can be anything, right? So the attraction of New York was the main reason why we decided to do the camps over there. And then New Zealand came about by accident, actually. I was having a chat with the same uncle who was an English teacher in Korea before. He is now a pastor in New Zealand.
Not the guy that married you.
The same guy that married us.
Oh, geez.
Sounds like you're going to be a pastor in the future.
Yeah.
Just a quick side note, all my students from Ghana whose parents used to be dentists, doctors, lawyers, whatever, now they're all pastors. And I joke with all of them, just go home and be a pastor. Chemical engineering, blah, blah. Go home and be a pastor. He goes, that's where the money is.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I don't think that's in my future, man. But I had a chat with him, and he told me about this amazing campsite that they had visited. And I did a bit of research into it, and it turned out to be amazing facilities. So Tui Ridge Park, out in Rotorua, just I think it's 3 hours outside of Auckland. And we did research into it and decided to go over and check it out. And then, interestingly enough, I have this tendency to send emails to hundreds of companies just to introduce our program. One of the companies that responded was Air New Zealand, and they like what we're trying to do because they think New Zealand has a lot to offer the world, and they want to help us showcase New Zealand. So we've been negotiating with them, and they'll be offering students a discount. So all students who join our camps, if they book their flights via Air New Zealand, they get a 30% discount on their tickets.
Oh, no way.
And then sent an email to the mayor's office, Phil Goff in Auckland. And the day we left New Zealand, we came back to Korea. His assistant actually responded, and she was like, "Oh, they'd like to set up a meeting." And I was like, "Oh, we've literally just left." And she's like, "Okay, they want more information about the program." We sent them the link to the website, which is in Korean. And she was like, "Oh, actually, they've got a Korean New Zealander who works in the mayor's office, and he can definitely translate the website for them." So they checked it out, and then they contacted us again, and they're like, "There's this program called Study Auckland, and they think that they can offer our students like the authentic New Zealand experience." So to immerse the students in the Maori, the Tongan, and the Maori and the Tongan cultures out that way. So yeah, they were like, "You can, if you're coming for a month, study for 3 weeks, and then the 4th week, bring them to Auckland.
Yeah.
And we'll teach them to play rugby. We'll get one of the former All Blacks players to do a motivational talk with the students. We'll give them the authentic New Zealand experience."
I bet even the kids might not even understand or appreciate what they're getting until a few years later when they look back like, "Oh my God, I got a talk from this guy. I got to do this or that." That's awesome, dude.
It must be nice when people are receptive to ideas. We've been doing a little hustling in Korea for a while, but it's tough when there's a lot of shutdowns and
throw a lot of stuff.
It must be nice when and you're just randomly throwing out mass amounts of emails and you get feedback. It must be great, especially from people like that.
Man. Initially, like I was very offended. Like I'd walk around to different academies. A lot of them were very welcoming, but you get to odd academies. So, where's your camp in South Africa? And they're like, "Sorry, no, we don't want to send our kids to South Africa." And after a while, when you stop taking it personally.
Yeah. Well, that's the same one.
We go cold calling for donations and stuff, and it's not. Sometimes he phones me, he's like, "Oh man," and I said, "Just relax, just go to the next one. The guy will say yes, and then you're happy again."
Some of them really.
That one yes is worth it, man.
Absolutely,
it's everything worth
and
it.
it's not worth getting upset about or your shorts in a knot, because if that was the case, I would have quit a long time ago.
Some of them really hurt the pride, though, man.
It's tough to hear no so many times, man.
Yeah, but then again, I have the benefit of being able to speak Afrikaans, right? So I'm able to curse them in Afrikaans while smiling.
What was that? It was just a blessing, my uncle. You remember. Good. I like that.
So that sounds like you're pretty set up then if you made those connections there.
Yeah, it's grown a lot faster than what we anticipated, and again, we've been blessed to meet people who buy into our idea. Right. So definitely for the New Zealand camp, having the mayoral office on board with our program, it gives it a lot more weight
Yeah.
to selling the program.
And when are you, if anyone's listening, when are you going to those places? Those are open next summer?
Well, we do the New York camp. The New York is a 5-week camp. That's next summer. And that's 5 weeks we'll be staying in Brooklyn. 2 days will be spent at Harvard University. And again, that came about by just sending an email. They responded. They were like, well, they don't partner with any organizations, but they can offer us this program, a 2-day program.
You get like a lecture from a Harvard professor, don't you?
Yeah, well, one of the
interview.
facilitators, facilitators from Harvard University would then give a talk to our students and a private tour. We'll get to go into the libraries. We'll have one study session in one of the libraries, and then the students get to sleep in the accommodation, the Harvard accommodation for one night, which is pretty cool.
I think just giving kids that feeling like it's real. You know, you see a lot of pictures or maybe in movies or
you dream about it, but it's inspiring to bring them there, and it might just make someone say, "Hey, I'm coming here no matter what. I'm coming here."
And who knows? I mean, like your 1 week trip to or 2 week trip to Korea, that might set a kid's life in a different path. You know,
you believe what's possible based on what you are exposed to, right? So, for example,
Psychology 101.
Absolutely.
Dropping some hard knowledge.
I missed that class, but sounds about right.
But that's back to what I said about the learning by yourself, self-learning and online learning. But once you go and do it, it's different. You can only listen to so much K-pop and eat so much kimchi, but until you come here and see what it's like, you just can't imagine it. So.
I always use the analogy of a football game. Like you can watch a football game. Oh, sorry, you're from
soccer.
Yeah.
Football's
soccer
fine,
game, right?
Yeah.
You can watch one match on TV. It has a certain effect on you. You go watch the same match in the stadium. It has a totally different impact on you.
Absolutely.
Right, so the New York camps, that's a 5-week summer camp. And then the Auckland and Cape Town camps are both winter camps, both 4 weeks. Yeah, the Cape Town camp, we actually leave next Thursday. We head out to Cape Town for a few weeks. And we'll be escaping winter.
How do you manage, or like you're not doing this full time, right? Taking that much time off, because we've always thrown these ideas around about taking kids home and stuff, but if you don't have a university job where you have 8 or 10 weeks off at a time, it's hard to quit private classes and company gigs and stuff for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time, and then come back and expect them to be there. How do you balance or manage that, the work and, entrepreneuring on the side?
I think I've also been lucky in my experiences. So at the moment, I only teach part-time, right? At the kindergarten, that's only 2 days a week. My director is really cool, man. Like I don't know if she's cool because she's cool, or she's cool because she doesn't understand English.
She likes the former. she just likes hanging with the former president of the United States of America. That's all.
I thought you were leaving for 1 day. You left for 1 month.
She wants off her golf game.
But there's only I've been working there for almost 4 years. There's only 3 words I've heard her speak. It's just hello, and then no problem. Whenever I'm like, I need to take a month off for the camp, and she's, oh, no problem.
That's a good policy.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I need to take a trip to the States. Oh, no problem.
I'm not coming in next week. No problem. That's awesome. Oh my God.
Well, that helps to have understanding people,
Yeah, but I was speaking to Suyan the other day, and I was saying, one person in Korea can either make or break your experience.
Absolutely.
In Korea, because
you get a bad director, you're done.
So I think I've been really lucky that she's been so understanding. I don't know where her limits are or how long I'll be able to continue doing this. But for the time, she seems to be really cool with it.
I'm leaving for a month and taking your car. No problem.
Yeah. Good. And I assume Suyan's going with you on these trips or no?
Oh, yeah. Especially this year, because the youngest kid that's on the trip. So usually we target group is elementary, middle, and high school students. We also have a parents package, so parents who want to join the camp. But our youngest student this year is 7 years old, and he's going
Western age 7.
Western age 7. Okay. So he's going without his mom, without a brother or sister. So I think having Suyan over there.
His family hates him, or
I think the mom just needs a break, right?
A 7-year-old.
7-year-old, yeah.
I think, dude, I think about just sending my kid to the park that's 200 meters this way and I can see it out the window.
Sending the grandmas for a sleepover is challenging.
Oh, God.
When I told Sue he was joining the camp, she was like, why do parents trust you? Like,
that's...
They don't. They trust you. They trust you.
That's the same. We had a grade... The youngest one we brought to Canada that one year was grade 3. And even I felt like, whoa, this kid's I can't believe his parents trusted us to... There's Koreans with us and whatnot. My wife was there.
Setting the bar high. 7 years old, going to South Africa. Jeez.
Yeah.
We're going
to Seoul next year for vacation. That's bullshit, Mom. It's Italia or bust. Oh, that's funny.
But no, he seems super stoked about going to South Africa. So I'm like, Gee, are you excited about South Africa? He's like,
wow,
what are you excited about? He's like, barbecue.
Yeah.
Like, no, braai. It's like, barbecue.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
We'll get him his barbecue once we're local.
And think too. I mean, your first experience, you were 15 when you went overseas. My first experience overseas is coming here, man, at 22, which was my first airplane flight. Or I went to Vancouver and then stayed a couple weeks and then I bounced over here. And that was, like you said, like life changing, man. You go, you arrive and you're like, it's like a whole new level of learning and like just taking stuff in, a whole new perspective on life. Having that at 7. Just knowing that
it'll make him or break him, right? He'll either be terrified and have a terrible time and never want to leave his mom again, or
chased by a rhino
and he's going to be asking to go to all the wildest places of the world after that.
Yeah, no, but I think all students have the same experience on our camps. So initially there's that fear of the unknown, right? But once they get to South Africa, most of the students don't want to come back to Korea.
Yeah.
And a lot of the students end up going back a second time, right? So yeah,
that's good.
We usually, one of the things that I ask students towards the end of the camp, I'll ask them, so if you could describe South Africa just in one word, what word would that be?
Is pickpocket hyphenated?
And by far the best answer was from this kid. Her name was Lucy. That year she was the youngest kid on our camp. She was 3rd grade elementary school, and she was the only girl on the camp. So I asked her, like, if you could describe South Africa in one word, what would it be? And she paused for a moment and she's like, teacher, magical.
Put her on the brochure.
Yeah.
Put her on the brochure.
That's awesome.
So I know your wife's a big part of this. Is she also fortunate enough to be flexible in the work that she can also take that much time off?
Oh yeah, so she works full-time on the camps. She does all the design work. She does the meetings with the parents. She's full-time.
Cool.
Full-time invested in the camp.
Awesome. Nice. So you guys are going to be going full steam ahead for the next year and beyond?
Yes, sir. Hopefully the camps will continue to grow. There's a lot of things that we've got in the pipeline, a lot of plans we've got in the pipeline. Hopefully the camps will continue to grow and we'll get to the point where we don't have to be working this hard to recruit students.
Once they come back and the word of mouth spreads, that's all you need, right? And especially if you start doing New Zealand and New York and they go to one of those and go, oh, you guys go to South Africa? That'll be cool too. That'll really help too. So
Can I just say how easy it is selling New Zealand compared to South Africa?
Sure, absolutely.
I did a presentation at an academy, right, for the Cape Town camps, and one of the moms raised her hand and she's like, do you have any other locations? And this is like way back in February, right? And I was like, well, at the moment we don't have any locations, but we're thinking of expanding into New York and New Zealand, Auckland. And then continued with the presentation. And as I left, I was literally driving home. The academy owner called me and she's like, there's 3 moms that want to sign up for the New Zealand camp. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe we can set up a meeting once we've got content, once we've got material.
Because I have nothing right now.
And she's like, no, they want to know when they need to pay. They want to join the New Zealand camp. And I mean, compared to how we have to sell South Africa to parents, like New Zealand seems a much easier sell.
Sure, naturally.
Right.
But another thing that is working in your favor is, before it used to be Sambatai, whatever, 4 days, 3 days, the weekend to Cambodia and Angkor Wat, the weekend to Pattaya. That used to be standard for the longest time. That was a typical Korean trip. But now you're seeing these kids not only like this, but also with their moms. A month in Guam, a month in Saipan, a month in Malaysia.
Handar Sagi.
And this is becoming
Sagi.
This is becoming very normal now. And before it might have been a week camp or maybe 2 weeks at the max, but now a month is becoming pretty normalized here, where these guys leaving with their mom or without is becoming the new norm. And I think that's a big thing working in your favor, because doing this 5 years ago probably wouldn't have flown very well. Wow, we just want to go for a week. Is that possible? That's a long way to go for just a week.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to really work in your favor. And the tide seems to be changing now towards more freestyle. I know lots of moms going to Malaysia now. And I guess they're tired of Cebu in the Philippines. And Malaysia is the new place. It's still relatively cheap. The English is good.
Yeah.
And they go on to tell you the freestyle. Okay, book your camp. But mom says, okay, Friday after school, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to Singapore. Then we're going to go up to here. Then we're going there. And there's a lot of things to do in the area. And the moms take control of the weekends and that free time. And yeah, it's a whole different environment now.
I think a residual benefit too about going abroad. We know a problem here is suicide, lots of stress for the kids and bullying and whatnot. If you have a perspective outside of your community, you know, a lot of kids' lives are, you know, they leave their house, they walk to school, which is 500 meters from here, and then they go to the Hogwarts, and then they go to their academy, and their whole life is within 2-3 kilometers. When that's as far as you're traveling, man, that's kind of where your brain is at. That's where your limits are. And if you're seeing the same people every day in that same routine, going abroad, I think even for our kids who will probably have a rough time at some point, being half kids, you know, bringing them to Canada, bringing them to Nate's going to Boracay there. That shows them, man, there's life outside of outside of school. If someone calls you, oh, you're a half blood, you got this problem, your dad's not Korean, you're not full Korean, but like, yeah, whatever, you know, I can just go live in another country, where a lot of kids I think feel really stuck in this small, you know, in that small little bubble that you live in. Never mind the bubble that's Korea, man.
But I believe that bubble is disappearing with these younger generations that aren't so focused on education and marriage and careers in the big companies, and they are traveling a lot, and they are exposed to a lot more global culture through the internet. So I think you can notice a huge difference in the new the generation coming up now, that they're much more open to other experiences and not so much the Korea. And I mean, you see it in the kids. Tons of the kids don't even like kimchi anymore. And back to your fermented cabbage, I'm trying to get my kids hooked on it because they're Korean, but man, it's not easy. So yeah, I think all of that stuff, and Korea, you know, is an ever-changing place. I mean, it changes as fast as anywhere, but it's definitely becoming much more open and much more accepting and global, which is nice to see, because when we came, it was very, very conservative.
So well, he was here before us.
When did you all come over initially?
2004.
2004.
You guys didn't cross paths?
I think that's what you got. It might have been you.
I was here in 2007. Anyways, when we met, when last time we met, you were telling me, and I've seen his celebrity grow online in the last 2 or 3 years. Trevor Noah. What's the view as a South African guy? Is that someone that you look up to? Is that an inspiration, or is he just like, he's just another celebrity?
Absolutely, man. Like Trevor Noah, I think he's the new Nelson Mandela.
Oh yeah,
back home, man. Like he's a phenomenal back home.
No Della.
Do you watch his stuff regularly?
Yeah, when I have time.
Yeah.
Like my wife is on the highlight reel or whatever for him, and she, at night she said, what can I use to learn English or more slang, more just real stuff? And I said, get some of the late night guys, man. They're hilarious. If you watch it and don't just listen to it, you'll have the context to understand easier.
Yeah.
And she listens to him all the time, and sometimes I'm in the kitchen and I hear her listening and I just start laughing. But it's also gotten me interested in him, because he shows a lot of stuff about his mom in South Africa and where he grew up in the villages, and he brings the crew there.
Yeah.
And so when you mention growing up poor, he has a lot of references in his material that references poor South Africa childhood.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. I mean, I saw lots of that stuff in Ghana when I was there, and he's bringing that to mainstream television in America, and I think it's a really good thing.
I must say that the cool thing about him is he hasn't changed once he moved over to the States. Like his comedy, his style has remained consistent, right? So a lot of times when comedians go over to the States, they would adjust their comedy style to fit the audience. He's very, very confident in his style, and so he's kept his style, and he knows how funny he is, and he's just blown up in the States, man.
Yeah,
put South Africa on the map.
Yeah. He's cool. I saw his bit about the guy who does the sign language at Mandela's funeral.
Oh yeah.
Oh dude, okay, that's classic.
Oh, he's hilarious, man.
Yeah, he's got some good.
Brian said you had an opportunity to meet him in New York.
Yeah, so we landed at JFK at like in the middle of the night.
He was there to pick you up.
Yeah, definitely carried our bags for us. Eventually in the morning we took the subway to Grand Central and checked the map, and smack bang in the middle of our route was the Daily Show studios. And I looked at Suyan and I was like, we've got to go around here. Like, even if it's just to see the building, the outside of the building. Yeah, usually she doesn't say yes to my suggestions, but on this occasion she was like, yeah, it's Trevor Noah, so okay, let's do it. We went there, and that was on a Friday. And so we're lugging our bags and we're outside the Daily Show studio. And man, my face was beaming, right? And I was like telling Suyan, check the posters of him, man. Look at the cabs driving past with his face on it. And the security guy comes up to us and is like, are you guys here for the show? And we're like, oh, no, we're not here for the show. He's like, okay, cool, because there's no show on a Friday. So it's like, okay, cool. So it's like, oh, no, I'm from South Africa, and I'm like a huge Trevor Noah fan. And he was like, well, he usually comes in on this time on a Monday. Maybe if you come back at this time,
Like, I just lost his job.
he might chat to you. So it's like, okay, cool. We ended up going, or at least I ended up going the Wednesday. Suyan stayed back at the hotel. And I remember I was on my phone, walking on my way to the studio, walking there. And there's this guy walking in front of me, and I'm like, that guy looks like Trevor Noah from behind. And I'm like, how about it's not him? He wouldn't be walking in the streets, right? And the closer I got to him, I realized...
It smells like Trevor Noah.
Yeah. What's it? That's Africa, right?
Is that Bray? Bry? What's it? How do you say? Barbecue.
Bry.
I smell Bry.
So I walked up to him and I was like, Trevor, it's nice to meet you, man. I don't want a picture. I just want to introduce myself and just want your advice on one or two things. And he's like, well, okay, I don't have time to stop and chat because I'm late for work, African time. But if you walk with me, like, we can chat on our way to the studio. And then as we're walking, like, his phone rings, and like I think they tell him to come sooner. So he's like, we've got to jog now. And I was like, okay, cool, so we're jogging. And the funny thing was, I had a soccer injury. I'd injured my ankle just a few weeks before that. So I was on crutches. I was literally on crutches on my way to Incheon Airport. Yeah. When we got to the airport, I discarded the crutches. So I'm jogging and pain's like shooting up my leg. But I'm happy, right? Because I'm jogging to work with Trevor Noah and discussing the camps and what we hope to do. And yeah, he was very, very cool about it, man. Very, very down to earth. He ended up giving us contact details for the person that runs his foundation. And yeah, if all goes well, we'll be doing work with his foundation in the...
You sound like the luckiest guy I know. You better buy some lottery tickets. What is the chance that he's walking to work and that he takes time out to talk and answer? I mean, it's awesome. Yeah. I remember when we used to chase around the hockey players for autographs, and lots of them were really good guys, and they'd ask you who you play for, with a couple of questions, whatever. But yeah, there's still a lot of them that just give you that get out of here, get lost, hurry up, and they sign and they give you a swiggle or a wiggle there and done. Yeah.
What's a swiggle and a wiggle?
They're signatures.
Oh, okay.
One line, two lines, and you go, who's this? I don't know. Who's this? I don't know. But yeah, that's awesome that he takes time.
It was very cool to see that he was like, his persona is the exact same on and off camera. Yeah. So yeah, that was really cool.
That's awesome. What's the name of the sausages? It's
Boerewors.
No. What's the ones they sell at the Ulsan market?
Those.
What is it?
Boerewors.
How do you say?
Boerewors. You're not speaking about biltong, right?
Biltong.
Oh, biltong.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Jerky, yeah.
Oh, the jerky, that's what I was thinking. I just threw, when I said, how do I know it's Trevor Noah? I'm like, you smell the barbecue? I figured there was like links of
biltong.
biltong just hanging out. Like, I don't know if it's him. You go. Anyways.
That's racist. I'm joking.
So you got lots of stuff going on right now.
Is that biltong in your pocket?
Any plan in the future to have a family or no?
Well, you need two things for that: time and money.
Oh,
I was
lacking.
I was going to say, because it slows you down drastically. I mean, we used to be the work 16-hour-a-day guys, and then we got married and kids, and we've taken a step back and slowed down drastically. So I was just wondering, now you're starting all this, but you're probably also prime time for making a family.
Yeah, we've spoken about it on occasion. I don't think for the next year, maybe a year or two, we'll focus on the camps, and then after that, we'll look to settle down.
Nice.
You know, at the moment, I like kids that I can give back to their parents.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. It's a total. Yeah.
So,
wait till again. Don't rush into having your own, because I think, I mean, though the way we did it was kind of put those years of hard work in, and then like exactly like you said, you put the hard work in early, and then after you can you know, when you are relaxing a little more than usual, you don't feel guilty, or you know, you're comfortable in your house, man. Still had a couple of the early years when the kids were young. You can still work hard, but
you guys sound like the aunties back home.
yeah.
Whenever I visit home, there was always the question: so when are you getting married?
Yeah.
Well,
I just mean in relation
to the business aspirations.
I'm just teasing you.
Because I used to think I was invisible and I could do everything and anything and still sleep 2 hours a day and hustle, but
You thought you were invisible at one point?
it does drastically slow you down.
Invincible.
And not only that, but I really enjoy taking the step back and enjoying the kids and the family. I don't know how long you can just put your head down and just smash it out for before you realize that, what am I doing this for? What am I enjoying? I got to get my head out of the sand and start living my life. I got the money now, and I haven't done anything for 5 years or something.
I think I was 9.5 years and had a mental breakdown, man, and I couldn't continue on with doing that. And it was like, what am I doing? What am I, and you're getting so much anxiety and worry, like, oh, should I be with my family? Should I work to it? And it comes to a point where, like you said, the money's not so important, and you gotta change your priorities, man.
But the other expectation that I was wrong was that I just thought you could just make a family when you want. But it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder than you think. And
sure.
We tried for 2 or 3 years before we had our first daughter.
Well, he didn't know the grab her by the ankles and did shake her upside down trick, man. It's a good one.
You don't get married. Okay, we want to have a kid, and it's okay, no problem. But it's not. It's oversimplified maybe when you just talk about it before you try, and that also threw a twist into the road for us. So.
But I think especially for an English teacher, man, it's especially hard being married to a Korean, because there's that glass ceiling for an English teacher in terms of the salary cap, right? I mean,
you can only work so many hours a day.
Yeah, and if you're working,
you mean for us or for the wives?
No, for us. So if you're working at a hagon or if you're working at a school, there's a limit as to how much your pay increases.
Yeah,
sure.
Right.
But even in private would be private teaching would be more lucrative. But as you say, there is still a limit to how much you can work. Even if you had, the best situation ever where you're teaching, private group classes all day long. There's still only so many hours in a day.
To what?
Having a business that can grow. Yeah.
Or
I mean, just having like his business where if you get 30 kids, that's great, but you have the potential of having 250 kids, right?
So for us, it's all about building the brand, and then hopefully in future having that residual income.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Money is not the only thing, right? But at the same time,
you don't have any. You can't
having money gives you options.
Sure, opens doors. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you can go on vacation, where you can go to. So yeah, especially growing up in South Africa, and as I told you, growing up in a poor community. I don't want, if we eventually do have kids, I don't want our kids to face the same challenges we faced as kids.
Right.
Do you think here's a $1 million question? Do you think they'll be as inspired or as driven as you if they don't face those tough conditions? Do you know how much of your drive? That was the first question we asked you, right? What motivates you? What gives you that drive to keep going? You said, I grew up poor. We talked about this in our last one too.
It's the current situation in Korea, where the parents grew up after the war in very difficult conditions, and their kids now are given everything, and it's hard to find kids that appreciate what they have and the opportunities they have, and the work ethic is just not there.
There's no right or wrong answer, but just don't spoil your kids rotten. Probably is the best.
Kids are gonna grow up poor, man. This
roll those pants, Jimmy.
This money I'm working for is for me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're gonna have to either teach English or whatever to make their own money.
But it's so important.
It's difficult finding a balance, between giving your kids what you didn't have and giving them too much. And I don't think there's any right answer to that. Just have to.
Don't give them anything. Can I have a new toy? No. Are you crazy? You know what I had when I was younger?
There does seem to be a trend to give them a lot more than what's necessary, and I think that feeds into the lack of ambition, desire, motivation to get out and do it on your own.
As a dad, learning to say no is so important.
I was just about to ask you, how do you guys do it?
Teach my kids from the first day about when all the aunts and uncles give them my tip. I think I say it every podcast, but when they get their money and stuff, I tell them when we get home. I mean, if she gets lots, whatever, it just goes in the bank. But at least we take 1 10, break it into 10 ones, and she puts 8 in the bank, 1 for her and 1 to give away. But to know that if she wants something, really good. Do you have your money? No. Okay, then we're not getting anything today, because you don't just. I'm not a free bank account. You don't just spend my money. So when she wants something bigger, then we count it in the piggy bank, or we keep putting money in the piggy bank, or whatever. So
there's times too. I mean, when you're in a store and your kid wants something that's 2,001, come on, Dad, please. But I mean, it's it's so easy. It kills you inside to say no, but
it kills them to say yes every time. You're destroying their.
Oh, it kills the kids. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In the long run, man, you gotta. Oh, please, but it's Saturday. Can I have this extra snap? Like, dude, no. You can't. No.
The easiest thing is to just change their thought. My daughter wants this. Just no. Here, look at this. Oh, okay. And she's playing with something. She cries for 10 seconds, and she's playing with something else. Yeah. So you just have to change their focus. But
I took my niece to the store once, and she was like, Uncle Lyle, sunglasses. I want sunglasses. And I was like,
they're only $5.
But they're going to hide your pretty eyes.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Could have a new...
But then I think a lot more common is, oh, yes, I only see you once a year, twice a year. Good Uncle Lyle. Okay, sure, here they are.
Oh, no, I'm not that kind of uncle.
I saw a wicked quote the other day. I don't know if, again, it was on Facebook. It said, if you raise your kids well, you can spoil your grandkids. If you spoil your kids, you're going to raise your grandkids. Do you understand?
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
On a t-shirt.
That's the next t-shirt.
I've seen that one. I fully agree.
I read that. That stopped me dead in my scroll. But that's a profound knowledge there.
I know you guys are the interviewers, so you've got to be asking the questions.
You gonna flip this shit on us?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Flip the script. What do you guys have planned in the pipeline? How long do you plan to stay in Korea still?
Nate's scratching his head. He's gonna lie.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
I'll answer first.
Both of you seem very settled into life in Korea.
I'm very rude here, sure. Absolutely. It's the longest place I've ever lived.
It's such a loaded.
In one city, even in Canada, this is the longest place I've ever lived. Yeah. I moved around lots for hockey and stuff. So
it's such a loaded question. Just like it's so comfortable here. It's you can work as much or as little as you want. And again, you're not. We're not millionaires. Oh, in Korean won, I guess we're millionaires. But there's
no financial stress.
And I think that's a huge part of your life. If you can live day to day comfortably without having to stress out, without worrying, oh, fuck, how am I going to pay my car bill? Like, you know, you get to a point, you got a house, you got a car, you can relax, man. I could never imagine, you know, 15, 20 years ago, just being, well, you know, at our age and just
free.
Yeah, and just going, being able to sit down. Like, I got to teach 3 classes today. I have enough time to sit down and have a conversation with you and do stuff outside of work. Get my mind away from working or from teaching. And I mean, on top of all of it, I enjoy teaching. I enjoy making materials and meeting new students and students from, you know, all different levels and ages and whatnot.
You mentioned New Zealand, and I believe New Zealand was the first country to go to 2-generation mortgages. That now the family cannot pay off the mortgage in their lifetime, and it'll be passed on to their children. So
$100 a month for 3,000 years.
I think being here, even being able to absorb any kind of, not catastrophe, but, you know, at home, if your furnace goes in the winter, or, you know, the car breaks down, and those are big stresses for many, many people. I mean, we're very, very, very lucky to be in this situation, and I never take it for granted. So, you know, having the opportunity to travel once or twice a year for a month at a time, people at home don't have that opportunity. Yeah. Even with the greatest jobs, you get 6 or 8 weeks, but, you know, it's hard to take it all at once, or your kids are in. So for me, I would say probably 10 years at least, unless, you know, barring any unforeseen Kim Jong-un missiles or whatever. But I'm happy here. We get to travel lots. It's cheap and easy to travel in Asia. We get to go home to Canada. My family's come to Korea lots. So is it move home? I don't know. Move home for what? I don't know. Many people ask about family, but my family is spread out across 7,000 miles. I don't even see them if I go home. It doesn't mean I get to see them. It's not a small place. So yeah, I don't go home for what? I'm kind of like you. I could see maybe a third-party country. But one of my big ties here is that my wife is a public school teacher, so she's very tied in. She has a very, very good job. So we would be giving up a lot to leave. But she also gets summers and winters off, which, you know, so we have a very comfortable life here. So not in the near future. I think the education system is great.
She only gets summers and winters off? How does my wife get the whole goddamn year off?
How about you, Brian? Does home still feel like home?
When I visit, I got a solid, like, my family's all in the same area. It's so nice going home. It's awesome to meet friends from high school. But the novelty wears off. You meet up with your friends, and everyone's got their own life, and they've carved their own path.
Yeah, it's not high school anymore, right?
It's
not call the boys up and let's go. I call the boys up, and only one can make it.
No. I get a good showing when we go home. But it's again, we're in a totally different stage of life, and when I don't. It scares me to think that some people get caught in that cycle of, like, work. I'm 60. I'm gonna relax. I'm now at this stage, like, I'm appreciating and trying to take it all in. Like, I don't have to grind every single day. Like, you know, tomorrow I have a couple classes in the afternoon. In the morning, I'll do a little work on the website or maybe edit this. But it's so nice to
enjoy life.
Yeah, I went, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I went for a walk in Grand Park with my wife on, like, a Tuesday morning. You just go, like, this is how life should be, man. It shouldn't be that, you know, grind, get smashed on the weekend, and, you know, and then try and recover for Monday. You gotta.
I was just up in Seoul there on the way back from the U2 concert on the bus with Al. He said, you know, it's funny. In hockey, you have breaks between periods, and in baseball, you have the 7th inning stretch, and soccer games have a halftime. Why doesn't life have a halftime? Why don't we have a time in the middle of your life where you can just say, I'm taking 2 years off, and I'm just going to do anything that I want to do. So just the societies we live in, the life that we've created for ourselves over the years. Why is there no time to just step back, breathe, and just say, I'm going to enjoy and do whatever I want for 6 months, for a year, for whatever, and just to, and you know, I think if people did that, I think a lot of them wouldn't go back to work, or they would find something, another passion that they would pursue, or something else, because I think the monotony and the, you know, for a lot of people, just being in that groove, it feels uncomfortable getting out. But I know when I was young, that people who got forced out of their jobs were terrified. But 2-3 years later, they were so much happier. But if they had to quit on their own, they never would have quit the job they didn't like. Yeah. But being forced out, they've been able to pursue other passions and things they wanted, and then much happier after that. So.
After getting married, me and the wife took 6. Well, she's still off. I took 6 months off. I hope she doesn't listen this deep into it, but I took 6 months off. I mean, this is going from like working like hard, man. Like there's some dark days, man, of just gross 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. You know, going to the gym first, going to the gym. It was disgusting.
Teacher, are you sleeping?
Maybe. No. Just suffocating this fly under my eye. But you know, after we said let's take 6 months, we were newly married.
Yeah.
And in that 6 months, and it wasn't even in the first week or the first month, it was 3 or 4 months in where, man, it was like a personal growth spurt where it was like I started thinking differently. I started opening my mind because it wasn't just all work and thinking about work. I had time to sit back and think. I got into like
an epiphany
when I discovered like TED Talks, dude. I'd sit just it was really inspiring, and just to listen to some of these people talk. So, some of my favorite days, reflecting back on that time where, dude, sitting. It was winter time, so I'd sit at home. I'd have a hot tea. You know, hopang.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
hopang, like that little snack with what the hell's inside?
Brown sugar.
No, what is it? Red bean. The red bean paste in there. It's sweet.
Do you have your blanket covering your legs?
Yeah, dude. Listen, having a warm floor and just that was such a relaxing time, and for the first time in my life, again, I paid my way through school, so that was, you know, one job during the semester, you know, working doubles in the summer vacation, and that was the first time in my life where you can sit back and go, life can be something other than a total ball breaking grind of something that you don't view as very rewarding or So
my question for you then, I find living in Korea is that the thing that keeps me here and that I like or one of the biggest benefits is not having a proper job. That I don't have any stability, zero, for 15 years.
Dude, I get anxiety about that sometimes.
That's what people at home, I think it's a very important thing. And people in Korea, they want to work for SK, Hyundai, Samsung, or LG because, or the Gomuan, the government jobs, because that guarantees your future. But I feel it keeps me on my toes. It keeps me active, keeps me learning, keeps me at the best of my game.
Keeps me up at night.
And for you, maybe you feel similar or maybe not. I don't know. But is that a benefit to you, or does that cause you stress not having a secured future?
Oh man, that's deep thought. I remember growing up, like in my community, all of the aunties, and you have to be careful who you get advice from, right? Like I remember the people in my church, it would come from a point of love, a place of love, right? And they would say, "Oh, you need to get a council job with benefits." So working with a council, it's minimum pay, but I mean, there's some benefits. There's the medical insurance, and in that community, that was like the way to get out of that community is getting a council job. But you're stuck. No matter how hard you work, you would still get more or less the same pay. The thing that I really appreciate in Korea is I get to earn depending on how hard I work.
Yeah,
all your own shots.
Yeah, if I choose to have 10, 15 classes a day, it is taxing on the body. But I mean, at the end of the month, when you're counting the bucks, it makes a huge difference. I'm at the point in my life now where I get bored very easily. Like, Sian basically had to force me to take vacation, and a while back, we went to Bali for a week. The agreement was, so we'll go to Bali, and the agreement was no work. Man, after 2 days...
Where's my goddamn computer?
I was checking emails, I was messaging students again, and I literally couldn't wait to get back.
At the end of my vacations too, I'm itching, like, I wouldn't mind teaching. I'd like to see this class, or I want to get back to the website, or do this or that. It's fun, yeah. And I think that's cool, man. That's how life should be.
At the end of 1 month is different than 2 days into your trip.
Yeah, but for me, I'm having fun, man. As hard as I'm working, I'm really having fun.
Yeah,
enjoying what I'm doing.
And if you listen to any successful person, no one ever says, like, it's the end point that counts. Check your bank account in 20 years. That's what's important. Everyone says, dude, it's the journey. Any hard work that you do, that's what makes the goal or the reward more rewarding, right?
So that's when you ask about leaving, I just love the freedom here, and not having that job that I have to stay in for more than a year or 2 years, because that's all the contracts they offer here. You know that you can always get out. And you know that you have to stay on top of your game, and knowing that there's also a safety net of, well, if I don't have a real job, I can do all kinds of side hustles, which you can't do at home. I mean, it's much more difficult to do at home. You can do it, but it's a lot harder. But here, I mean, I've lost big company jobs. I've lost university jobs for, hey, we put a 5-year cap on your contract. It finishes next year. What? What, you just invented that? Yeah, it's done. Oh, these are only 2 years and you got to get out. These are, so whatever. I mean, forced out or option to get out. But I like having that freedom and, like you say, being able to work as hard or as little as you want to make yourself enjoy life or comfortable in your living. Being in control.
Back to Jeffy's podcast there, we asked, he's been here over 20 years, and we said, what keeps you motivated? How does the fire still alive after? Jeff Young, yeah.
Oh, legend.
Yeah. And dude, if you've ever seen him teach, the guy goes in, I don't know if it's the 3 liters of mint chocolate milk he drinks before the class, but that guy's 100%.
Yeah.
Every single, I've never seen him slack. In my experience, the guy is 110% every single class. And what keeps him motivated, he said, I have control over my work. There's no one beaking at him to, change this, change that. No micromanagement of his class. He picks and chooses as much or as little as he wants to work. And I think that overall, what I wanted to say earlier, when I look back at 50 or 60 years old, I don't want to say, like, oh, I spent my whole time working. Like, I'm doing stuff I want now. I don't want to wait until I'm 60.
My biggest fear is working 9 to 5 and enough.
That scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I like even when I'm working at a university, I still have privates, and I go here and I go there and I go to this company and this. Yeah. So in 1 week, I visit the police station, city hall, the YW, all over, and I like that variety. Like you say, I get bored of sitting at the same desk or doing the same thing over and over. So I like having kindergarten. I'm at the kindergarten 3 days a week for an hour each. It's only an hour, but it keeps me youthful.
Yeah, absolutely.
The university kids keep me, on my toes, to challenge them, to motivate them, to inspire them. The women, I learned a lot about careers from my women's classes. So I like the variety.
And to me, the amazing thing is every class you teach requires a different teaching style.
Yeah.
Right? So with the kids, it's all high energy, lots of hugs. Whereas with the conversation classes, the Ajumoni classes, you can have a conversation and they'll give you life lessons, man.
Yeah.
Like I always tell them that, that's my therapy session.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll speak about marriages. We'll speak about the challenges that they face in their marriages. They'll speak about what it's like being married to a Korean husband. They'll ask me what it's like being married as a foreigner, being married to a Korean. We'll speak about real life issues.
Yeah.
I remember the one class we spoke about DNR,
resuscitate. Yeah.
And the one lady shared a very, very personal experience that she had with her mother, where they turned off the life support machines, and what letting go was like, and how she worked through the stages of grief. Every class requires something different of me, but also every class gives me something different.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I love about what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So I'm totally with you on that one, dude.
Awesome. Awesome, dude. So much more we can get into, but time is running short.
Just before we wrap up, man. You guys are doing amazing work. With this this podcast and in everything else that you're doing. The We Hope organization, and then also the ESL Hacker.
Yeah.
Nice. Keep grinding, man. It's inspirational. The fact that you guys want to do more. And
same to you, man. I see those. I read 4 books this week, and I'm on a plane. I'm going here. I'm going there. That's inspirational for us too. I love that. Can't be afraid of hard work.
Yes, sir. Well,
we will post the links or whatever for the website and the camps and stuff on the podcast. So if you're curious or want to check it out, go ahead and
geniusenglishcamp.com. Yeah.
It's genius-camps.com. Yeah.
Genius-camps.
Yeah.
.com. Awesome, dude. Thanks for coming. Good luck. Good luck next week, and we'll catch up soon. Bye bye.